Today we're going to examine a few examples of centered sets that have formed around causes and communities.
So, in the last week of our conversation, we want to kind of dive into the idea of causes and communities as being a way to think about what are the centered sets going on in our city, or even how you might frame your own calling capacity.
Yeah, so what we mean when we say causes is something that really is not geographically bound. It's focused on a particular issue or problem, or maybe it's not a problem, maybe it's a dream of something that could be better, or something that we could add or create in our city. And then communities is we're talking about a specific geographic area in our city that might be suffering in some way, or maybe it's not necessarily a geographic area, but it could be a particular people group within our city that represent a community within our city. And so what does it look like to sort of commit yourself to one of those?
Right, and I think these are good examples, as people explore what they're passionate about, what they feel called to, and what they have capacity for. These might be some good examples to check out. So a few on the causes. There's this foster care coalition. I think we've talked about it a few times, where people are saying, hey, let's make sure there are no kids waiting on adults to take care of them.
Right. Yeah. The Evansville Network of Diversion is another good example. They've basically...
What's diversion?
Yeah, they've taken on the cause of how can we prevent people from going into homelessness. So they have a really cool example of multiple organizations who are all somehow connected to the issue of homelessness and poverty in our city, working together and saying, how can we develop strategies for prevention to divert people out of the homeless system.
It's a really cool example of a centered set, and it's exciting to see that happen. Another one is HOUSE. It's Housing Organizations United Serving Evansville. It's like one of the best acronyms ever, I think.
Yeah,
but that's what they do. They are focused on how do we create a system or a structure or a plan kind of together to tackle the housing issues and the housing crisis in our community. And that's a great way to get engaged.
Yeah, and I think all of those are really great examples of centered sets, because the members of those centered sets, the organizations and the people who are partnering together, all have their own unique approach to the issue. But instead of saying, well, our approach is best and you really ought to just be doing what we're doing, they acknowledge it takes all of us working together to meet these different goals and needs in our community.
Right. A couple examples on communities that have become kind of centered sets. There's been a lot of work going on at TP Park with kind of this idea of let's listen to what residents need and support their leadership of solving those needs. And I think that's an amazing strategy. Community One's done some really great work there, and many others. Kind of this asset-based community development is what it's called, ABCD. It's a great example of, let's be committed long-term. Let's pull in all the different organizations, churches, schools, businesses, city government into this plan and how we're going to execute it together with the residents that live there. It's a really cool thing going on, and there's other neighborhoods that have similar work happening as well.
Yeah, there's also sort of an emerging trend in our area for what's called a kid zone model. This has been really successful in Henderson, in the East End, and it's starting to become really popular in Evansville. There's a Jacobsville Kid Zone that recently started, and that's a unique model because it's kind of a mixture of a cause and a community. It's focused on a specific geographic area, but it's specifically focused on kids who live in that area. And again, they are working together with all different types of organizations, whatever piece they have to bring into that to make that happen, they're doing it.
Yeah, it's really cool to just see these things happening in our city, where these ideas of let's work together to solve problems is becoming more the norm than the exception, and really kind of there's a little bit of pressure. Like, hey, if you're part of an organization that's not collaborating with others, then you should be.
Right.
And we need to because of how valuable it is to work together to actually solve these problems. So some examples for people to think about, and where you could join into some of these things that.
Hey, if you've enjoyed this conversation on centered sets and you want to find a centered set to get plugged into, or maybe you want to start one yourself, we would love to help you do that.
Yeah, you can start by maybe just checking out our website, forevansville.org. Look at the centered sets that are there, and we'll be adding more. And if that doesn't fit for you, actually, we'd love for you to just contact us, and we would love to meet with you, figure out a way to help you plug into some of the great things that are going on in our city.